suspended here. It is 7:30. This is our business meeting of North Kingstown School Committee. So if I could please ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is raised. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Glassbog?
Here.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Mrs. McGovern?
Here.
Mrs. Stevens? Mrs. Shaw?
Here.
And student representatives.
Here.
Thank you. And if you could please call the calendar.
Friday, February 17th is a professional day, and there's no school for students. Monday, February 20th is President's Day. Schools and offices are closed. Tuesday, February 21st, there's a school committee business meeting at 7 p.m.
Thank you. And if I could ask if we could all please rise for a moment for a brief moment of silence for Barbara Green, who is a former school nutrition professional at the high school who passed away recently. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Ajay had a brief recognition.
Dr. Humbert is going to make this announcement.
So it's my pleasure to recognize James Lawless, who is here with us as a student representative tonight. I have received at my office a letter from the chief from the Department of the Air Force congratulating James on his appointment to the United States Air Force Academy as a member of the class of 2021. So congratulations.
Well done. Has anyone signed up for citizens' comments?
I'm thinking now.
I don't think so. Thank you. Well, if you did, you know what I say. Just raise your hand if you did. But seeing we have a blank sheet and a relatively small audience this evening, we do not have any citizens' comments. If anyone here would like to jump up and make one, you are welcome to.
The guy all the way in the back is not a citizen. He's an employee.
Employees' comments are at a totally different meeting. Next items are routine items for discussion of possible action. First, if I could get a motion to seal the executive session minutes of February 14th, 2017. I'll say motion by Ms. McGovern. Second. All those in favor? Aye. And I can disclose that no votes were taken in the executive session this evening. Any exemptions from the consent agenda? I'm going to exempt items C, 1, and 2 just so we can take them separately. Any other exemptions? Okay, so if I could have a motion to approve all of the consent agenda items except for items C, 1, and 2.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. So, two personnel items. So, item C1, I could have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of termination for tenured teacher employee A.
So moved.
Motion and a second. We discussed this in executive session, so there would not be any discussion tonight. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous. Next, if I could have a motion for item C2, which is the approval of the superintendent's recommendation of termination of tenured teacher employee B.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Again, no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have 2 yeses. I'm going to abstain. That's 2-0 and passes. Next on our agenda for unfinished business, we have the 2016-2017 school budget. Anything to report on that?
No.
Any comments on it? Next, we have the fiscal year 2018 superintendent's preliminary budget. As a reminder, this is our second to last opportunity to discuss this prior to our vote next Tuesday. Same place, same time, to come up with the final bottom line number to submit to the town council. Any comments or items or questions with respect to the budget for this coming year?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Mary, when any of the school committee members ask you a question about the budget, could you respond by sending that response or information to all of us?
I can, and I can tell you so far that I've had a few questions from Mr. Blasbog, and I can dig up the answers to those. And I'll certainly do that tomorrow, and those are the only questions that I've had thus far. Ms. Stevens did ask me for a spreadsheet, but it's a spreadsheet that's in the very back of your budget that I had referred you all to at the very beginning, so I resent that to her, but that's information that you all already have, but I will do that.
Thank you.
So I'll put that note to them.
Any other questions or?
I mean, I think my only question is going to be, Phil, there's a big question on TA allocation and looking at supporting some of the elementary schools and their teachers, not just Stony, but that's definitely going to be on our radar, on my radar going forward.
Well, I appreciate the concern. It's a concern of mine. I just want to put something in perspective. I was kind of reviewing my notes from when we went over the budget in December with the town council, and the request, just to refresh people's memory, because even though we've had it as a budget as an item for discussion, we really haven't talked much about it until now. And the request from myself to the committee is for a 4% increase, and that is roughly $1.9 million. There have been a number of years in the district, and we have outlined this going back, and it's on that presentation if people need reference. But if you go back to 2011, 2012, those were years where there was a very minimal increase, in fact, zeros. For one of those years, and if in 2011, instead of a zero, if in that year there were a 4% increase, the district would have right now about $1.5 to $2 million more in its budget than it currently has. So, and they would have for every one of those years since. So, leaving anything short of 4% has that effect down the road. And then, of course, becomes part of the baseline for the next year. If there's a percentage increase, it's on that additional money as well. And I realize that it's something that hits the taxpayers as well, don't get me wrong, and I appreciate that part. But you can trace these things back when the powers that be make a decision about a zero or a very small increase that reflects more cutting than does improvement. Because as I pointed out at that presentation, about 3.75 of this is just doing next year what we're doing right now. Paying for the same employees, same buildings, same heat, same buses, same everything. If I had an extra 1.5 million, I could get more teacher assistant support. I could get more social workers, which I feel is a real priority. I could address the track and the tennis courts. All of those things we could take care of. And so I feel at this point where not only do we need a 4% now, we're probably going to need a couple of really good years, maybe 3, of that kind of an increase to get to a point where we have the funding to address those things we all know that we need. The $500,000 item that we had on our minds a lot last year was the school start times. It's a very legitimate concern. It's not even in the budget this year, and we're already at 4. And so I know there's an interest, and a commendable one, to try to show our constituents that we're doing the best we can to get by with as little as we're going to need. But I can also tell you that if we were to magically find $150,000 that we could figure out a way not to include in this budget, I would also be there to ask, well, least 5 or 6 other things on the list of priorities that are not reflected in the budget, and I wouldn't mind using that money toward that. And so, that's the conundrum we're dealing with. And I appreciate the support that I've gotten from the school committee thus far, and we're not quite there yet, but I think this is a realization from the committee about those points, and I think a growing realization from the town council as well. I appreciate that part too.
And I'm wondering if I could just ask that if you do have any idea of anything you were even thinking about, if you could just drop me a note so I can try to have an estimated dollar value, because we have to vote on an absolute number next week. So you can't just say, it has to be a number. So I would appreciate that, even if it's something you change your mind on or doesn't go through, but at least that way I can have an estimate, and then that way we don't have too many questions or outstanding items that I might not be able to answer next week. And I'll send that other information you asked for, Ms. Involvement. There were a few questions a while back. I can dig those answers out.
And is there a budget calendar yet?
No, I have failed to receive one. I have asked from the town multiple times. I do not have one. What we do have, Dr. Roger and I have from the new town manager, Mr. Mollis. He is coming in to meet with us again on February 23rd. So I explained to him that normally what happens after that vote on the 21st is I'll send him a letter, a note, an email that says the number is. They drop that into their budget, and then I will give him a summary spreadsheet as well as the whole wrap-up by the end of the day, Monday the 27th. That's the calendar that I've counted out. I have not had a yay or a nay on that, but we are meeting with him on February 23rd so we can talk to him more. So I didn't feel that there was a problem with that date. But I have no other dates. I have failed to receive responses from anybody. I've been asking for several months. So I don't know when our March meeting is. We'll try to get that information from him when we go as a department. And the exact date of the April public hearing.
Public hearings haven't set yet, right?
Well,
what's in the charter.
if you count it, exactly, if you count it out in the charter. So we should be able to have that information, but I really don't have confirmation on it.
Any other questions or comments?
We've had a lot of emails about the athletic facilities at the high school, track, the tennis courts. Do you have cost estimates?
Yeah, they were
for those?
presented in, when Mr. Hague had Par Corporation come in. The cost estimate was from $2 million to $2.3 million, depending on a certain shock absorbing thing, so I can re-forward that.
And do we have priorities too?
Well, in the CIP.
Yeah, those are capital items. The track, somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 to $1 million. The tennis courts, another.
The tennis courts are $50,000 a piece.
Yeah. And so, about half of that cost would be the track and the tennis courts, and the other half would be for refurbished turf.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was that included in the?
I think there was. I think they had the breakdown of the resurfacing of the track and
Yes.
everything. I'll double check that. But we don't have any, we have that. If we don't have that, they're just that, they're estimates.
And I'd ask that when we do submit our budget with the budget number, we had voted a few meetings back on our request for our capital.
We should resend that.
That should be part of it. So,
Yes.
And it is, that's always part of the
I
budget.
just want to make
We'll
sure it's
put
stressed. that,
Dr. O'Shea will
even in
have a
the
cover later.
executive summary that you get,
You're right.
to remind you, the operating budget request is this, the capital was
And
this.
it is itemized.
Yep.
Right,
I
we
just
will
want to
resend that along
make
with
sure
the
that's a
CIP.
reminder that
That we had asked for that,
Yeah.
right.
we took that vote on how much we were going to ask for capital.
Right.
We don't have any other new business. There's some financial reports in your packet. Any questions on those? If not, we have reached the end of our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everybody. Over there.
How you doing?